Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And I just want to say, Mila is glad to see you as well. She is staring at the lights that I have lit. So today we're going to do a traditional remote. This was done earlier today. I bagged some tea last night and I started shipping out the herbal tea orders for the immune support. And then I took a meditation and wound up with a really great remote. So I'm going to share it with you. Okay. So this meditation, I just wanted to scan the United States only. I was just scanning the United States, and my question was, are there any pockets of COVID that the CDC is not aware of? You know, are we missing any cases? And as I scanned the globe, I was looking for like hot spots, fevers, inflammation. That was the energy that I was trying to feel for. I feel like Missouri is a hot spot that Missouri in the Midwest, Kansas City, Missouri specifically, I got a hit for. These are areas where we see a lot of chicken farms, a lot of overcrowding from some of these industrial chicken farms. I actually have family that came from Missouri. Both my parents actually came from Missouri. But anyway, it looks like we're going to start seeing in those areas where there are feedlots, but also where we have a lot of animals together. Poor air quality, poor air circulation, and overcrowding. It's going to be a continuing problem to monitor COVID in livestock. So as I was continuing to meditate on Missouri and trying to figure out, zoom in on this heat, I found myself in a truck with a trucker. And the trucker was picking up livestock and taking it from point A to point B, or he was picking up meat from a meat packing plant. But basically what was happening with the trucker is that the trucker was going from point A to point B, and as he would go from point A to point B, maybe he'd be traveling for 24 hours, 48, 72 hours, he would be carrying COVID with him. He would go to a meat processing plant or to a feedlot or wherever he was supposed to go to collect cargo, animals, etc. He would shake hands with people, he would hang out with people, they would hang out at the truck stops, they would shake hands, they would share meals. And as I continued to meditate on this, I found that the virus was in high concentrations in truck stops. That if to make the CDC's job a little bit easier, what's happening is that the waitresses and the truckers are all going in different directions. So everybody kind of imagine that. If you're a remote viewer and you're trying to do these types of scans where you'll just scan a state, or you'll say, okay, I'm looking to find the sensation as I look at the map for inflammation, heat, fever. Okay, it looks like Kansas City, Missouri is going to have some problems. It looks like we're looking at one of the patient zeros that was the major person spreading this COVID in this area are truckers. If you continue to meditate on that, you'll find yourself in a truck stop, and you'll see that the waiters and wait staff in these truck stops have to push out massive amounts of food really quickly, pull dirty dishes, take out clean, and they're not going to be washing their hands before every time they do it. It's just go, 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 go. People have to go, people have to go, people have to go. And so what's happening is that just like what we saw in the airplanes to some extent, just like the stewards, the air people, the airline people are passing COVID by picking up dirty dishes and passing it down the plane. We see the same problem in the truck stops, where the waitress will do the same thing. Maybe there'll be a group of truckers, one of them coughs or has COVID, he passes it on to some of his friends. They're all headed in different directions in the United States. One's head east, one's headed to Oklahoma, one's headed south. And so until they find these vector points, these truck stops and these truckers, and then the waitress going and picking up those dirty dishes and then transferring to a new table and then hitting another group of truckers that are moving. You see the problem we had? So that's a big problem that's going to start happening, and I'm going to name some of the hot spots that we're going to be seeing a lot more of because of this truck stop problem. Specifically, I'm seeing Kansas, Missouri. They're going to be discovering a lot of hot spots that they hadn't looked at. We're also going to start seeing hot spots quite a bit in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, extending into Alabama, Louisiana, and Tennessee. These will be noted by detecting early fevers because that's what I was scanning for. Cuba's ready for emergency relief, so there's still I still see an open invitation from Cuba to possibly assist. These are the hidden areas I just pointed out in my notes that where we're not seeing adequate testing, and they hone in again on Kansas City, Missouri, and parts of Michigan as well as Connecticut, inadequate testing. But the main point zero for a lot of the trucking is specifically Kansas and Missouri, just as it was for the Spanish flu in 1918. So it opens up, it begs the question, if we trace the genetics of the flu in Spain in 1918 to these farms in Missouri and Kansas, and then again we find another hot spot in Missouri and Kansas. So it's something to be aware of. And then the last thing was, again, the Midwest, Oklahoma, anywhere people keep livestock in close quarters without adequate ventilation, there will always be a risk of COVID. And it will greatly impact the future of meat production and the safety issues for workers, the food supply, etc. Even if the meat is extremely safe, the problem is the ventilation, etc., makes it so that it's very easy for the disease to pass between employees. The consequences, the conclusion of the remote view today is, and this is not my bias, I think this was just looking at where the energy is going to the best of my ability. This was the conclusion. The meat industry is not sustainable, and it can never be sustainable in its current model. If not COVID, then it will be another virus that will come along because it defies the natural orders of how animals are supposed to live with one another. And then that brought me into a meditation about Gaia and Mother Earth and what she considers the natural order, or basically in harmony with the ecosystem. It doesn't threaten the ecosystem with too much CO2. It doesn't cause extreme changes that wipe out thousands of species. We're talking about something that allows for sustainable biodiversity, etc. So this brought me into the meditation about how human beings should not be ungrateful. That there's an energy that I always go into when I meditate on Gaia and our treatment of Gaia that is one of ingratitude. And this is what I heard in the meditation. The hogs and the chickens and turkeys are not your possessions, they're your friends. They're your friends. And if you decide to eat them, you say you have a contract with your friends, and you say, look, hog, you're my friend, and I'm going to name you, and your name is Joe the hog or Babe, and I'm going to have a relationship with you as my friend, and I'm going to feed you room and board, etc. But this is the way it goes. After such an amount of time, I'm going to slaughter you and eat you. It's just part of the natural cycle. I don't like to do it too often because I make friends of the animals here. And then I'm going to have a natural contract with one of my friends, and I'm going to give you a humane death. Now, what's wrong with that? Well, from Gaia's perspective, it's honest, it's humane, it's the right way to slaughter, and it dramatically reduces slaughter so that the people that really benefit from consuming meat, some people seem to, particularly the seniors, people with digestive disorders, people who have low protein, etc., some people do benefit. And so the people who do the slaughtering would be able to objectively look at the situation, create humane environments for animals where they're treated truly as friends, and it's part of the natural order. And then when we die, we go back to the same natural order, which is that we become meat. You know, the original way that the early people of South India that we connected with, where they would leave the bodies in the forest so that, because the vultures were their friends, the wild animals were their friends, and their friends needed to eat, and their lives were, we were allowed to live our lives, and maybe we ate our friends, right, in order for us to live our lives, and now we lay down our lives so that our friends can eat. So it's a very different mindset than how we perceive as death and the death process in the Western mind. The last thing I did was, I was zipping through the news, and I saw again that Harry and Meghan have, I guess they're moving to Los Angeles. And I know that Meghan's mother's been involved a lot in community organizing, anti-poverty programs, as has Meghan. So they're working with Angel Food Network, which I think we can go ahead and do a donation for them probably the next time we do donation, which I think will be after the 21st. But I saw military helicopters the last couple days in the neighborhood, and then I did a meditation. I was like, oh, that's what that was. It was probably Harry and Meghan traveling to their new home. So I have a pretty good idea where they are. Yes, they're really here, and they flew in, I believe, by helicopter. But anyway, so we wish them well here in LA. And oh, I had a message actually. That was why I mentioned it. It wasn't just that they were here. I have a message from Harry. This is a message from Harry, and it's actually, to some extent, he'd like to think that he's channeling his mother to some extent. But so we'll say Harry and Diana, in the sense that it was Diana's teachings that inspired Harry to write this. And he said that the truth of the matter is we don't need titles. None of us need titles. What we need is something that we carry like a mantle in our own hearts. And if you carry it in your heart like a mantle, nobody can ever take it away. It is the treasure of the heart. Carry it as a mantle, to love and take care of other people, to serve people, to be kind. So he was basically saying that we need to do, he's such a socialist, this kid. I mean, like that, in a good way. I mean, in a good way, in a democratic socialist way, and like we are all equal, a kind of a way, in the right way. And so he was saying, instead of it being like titles, it should instead be just human beings should be judged by their actions. Instead of just fighting and all this classism, instead we should just carry the mantle of our own hearts and walk in our own truth and be the change, just as Gandhi said, that we want to be, see in the world. And so that's basically how they, Meghan and Prince Harry, plan on living their lives. And I think in many ways, Meghan's mother, which is something that hasn't come up a lot, has been a positive influence on Harry because she's very active as well. All right, thanks for watching this remote, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Peace out.